Welcome to South Texas Now, featuring attorney Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. Each broadcast of South Texas Now brings you unique interviews with some of the voices that make a difference right here in South Texas. Now please enjoy this episode of South Texas Now.
And welcome to another edition of South Texas Now. This is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores. And not only are we bringing this here locally in South Texas, but we're also broadcasting on YouTube. Usually I have a guest on, but today I wanted to try something a little bit different. A lot of the time people ask me, Joe, well, what kind of law do you practice? Or better yet, they'll say, what kind of lawyer are you? And I always tell them, a darn good one, I hope. We do a little bit of everything here. We do a little bit of civil, we do criminal representation of those that have been accused falsely, we believe that have been unjustly treated by the system. Also federal law, which is something that's really tough. We're very, very much into saying stop mass incarceration now. Ever since the war on drugs, which I believe is pretty much unwinnable, and I don't think people want to win it, and I'll tell you why I say that, is because it would put a lot of people out of jobs. And really, the way things are going worldwide, our war perhaps has been somewhat effective here in the United States. But the distribution of things like ecstasy, manufactured pills, and cocaine, and things of that nature have switched over from being distributed from South America to West Africa, which is the stopping point, down to Europe. Europe now is surpassing us as the population that is using drugs more. And so we have decreased somewhat the amount of drugs, but it's been usurped by different drugs. Now fentanyl and things like that are being placed into the market. Maybe if we're lucky, we have a great law enforcement agencies here in the U.S., but still, 1 out of 10 loads might get caught, but the rest go through. And we're talking everywhere from South Texas to Duluth, from LA to New York. Those distributions are happening. So we talk about kind of what we handle. We also are very proud to represent first responders. We are very proud to represent nurses and physicians on their licenses, also individuals that may have been caught up in a scheme that was beyond their control, that they were committing healthcare fraud within a facility. They didn't know about it, but they didn't whistleblow either, so they've become a part of the conspiracy. So we look at that as well. The other issues that we look at involve DEA. And right now we've got a crisis with prescription drugs. We also have a crisis not only with billing veterans and the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, but also even private insurance. Say you go in for a cold or something and maybe they are what's called upcoding. They're billing your insurance more and adding more tests on. So these are some of the areas that we cover. But one of the ones that it really ties in everything, because some of you may know that I'm a nurse practitioner and a lawyer, and have been so for a quarter century, together combined, that I see people all the time, in their home, do house calls. We also see people in the nursing home and long-term care, but also the injured. And that is what I'd like to focus in on today, is one aspect of what we handle is working with those that have had fatal accidents, that have had very serious car accidents that have really damaged them or left them dead. And in their wake, those people that grieve, that live on, they also have what's called bystander damages. They suffer every day that they don't have that person. Some people live, but the quality of their life has changed. And often when we're young, you know, when the weather changes, I don't need good old Dale Nelson, our local weatherman, to tell me, because I can feel it in my bones as I get older. And we really, when we're younger, we don't really sympathize as much with people's pain, their suffering, their anguish. But I think now with COVID, I think a lot of us have seen what it does, not only in our body, but also in our mind. People sometimes have lost hope or they feel down, and I say, chin up, let's keep going, let's keep working together. But again, I want to cover something that's very important, and that is the anatomy of a trucking accident. When we're looking at legal issues, every show we want to kind of focus in on either something that involves the law, criminal, civil, or administrative. So that's what this program is about. If we start looking at that, there was a great trial about a decade or more ago, and I'll use that. Names have been withheld to protect people's privacy and a lot of the details. But looking at how someone that represents a person in a trucking accident, it's very important, because I think a lot of people watch Law and Order, a lot of people see a lot of Criminal Intent and all those types of shows, but never really see what goes on in a trial that involves trucking an accident or a major accident, car accident. And that's what we're going to look at. So, I always say to people, when I'm helping out in a trial, worked with some great attorneys, trained with some of the best. And I'm not saying I'm one of the best or anything like that, but what I do bring to the table is I help the attorneys see what the damages model is and how much they can ask a jury for. It's not easy asking for money, especially from a jury, because a jury may, somebody on a jury may say, I got in a car accident and no one gave me $1, and I live in pain every day. The other person didn't have insurance. I had to have my own insurance pay for it. I live in pain, and they may see it that way. But, usually when something goes to trial, it's because something failed. And what I mean by that is that the case didn't settle because either one side is overvaluing the case and saying this case is worth way too much money, or the other side is undervaluing it and saying, now wait a minute, this person may have had a head injury, but she looks fine to us, and our neurologist on our side is saying that she's fine. Often we get experts on cases that involve head injuries or spinal cord injuries to show exactly what's going on. And we also get very talented people that are cinematographers, videographers, to show a day in the life of somebody that has been really hurt and truly hurt, that affects even their very most intimate activities of daily living, going to the bathroom, showering, shaving, brushing your teeth, getting out of your car, walking to the store, those things that have changed what you can do, the enjoyment of life. What kind of price do you put on that? So, I'm going to be showing you some slides and things, and that may help. So what we're looking at here is, I always tell everybody, when attorneys go in front of a jury, they'll say the evidence will show, or they give a peep show of what is going to happen. And often the people that are suing are called a plaintiff. They'll say the company just isn't showing responsibility. Say it's a trucking company. They'll say that The company failed to have its drivers properly trained. They may also say that they are not only just refusing to take responsibility, but a company of that size should have had a better safety program. The National Transportation Safety Board mandates that people have this type of training. And often, and I don't mean to pick, there's plenty of trucking companies that are excellent, but there are some that just don't keep with standards. So you'll tell people, why we're here. And we're using an example, and we'll talk about how the trucking industry and also the right to a trial by jury. You have a 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment right, the right to remain silent. You have the right to competent counsel, and you have a right to trial by jury on any amount in controversy over $20. The Founding Fathers said that years ago, and it still holds true today. And then we give that snapshot. Why were the people negligent in the case? Why was that trucker negligent? If we're looking at it from the plaintiff's side, and vice versa if you're looking at it from the defense side. Often we show a 30,000-foot view of, or a helicopter view or a drone view of where the accident happened in order to better explain. A picture's worth 1,000 words. And we've got about a minute before we take a break, but I just want you to look over some of these pictures of the people, and these are real people. These are real accidents that have occurred. And also, often there are eyewitnesses that will come out and testify, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about independent eyewitnesses and what they see in a trucking accident and how we use that in trial when we come back.